An operation mirrors the journey of epic battles that took place during World War I. Each operation takes place across multiple sectors that are interconnected by several maps. A battalion of attackers moves the front line by securing all objectives in a sector until all the maps are captured. The more soldiers occupying an objective, the faster it will be secured. However, if any enemy soldiers are in the objective area, it will slow down the capture process. The attackers have multiple battalions, each with a limited number of soldiers. Should the attackers fail, a reserve battalion will come forward reinforced with a behemoth such as an airship, a dreadnought, or an armored train. If the attackers secure all the sectors on all the maps, they win the operation. The defender's role is to hold the sectors by repelling the attackers or by neutralizing everyone in the attacking battalion. Should the defenders fail to hold their ground, they will fall back and regroup on a different map. If the defenders manage to wipe out all the attackers' battalions, they win the operation. The introduction of airplanes during World War I brought a new kind of warfare to the battlefield. While their initial purpose was reconnaissance, World War I planes were quickly equipped with weaponry, evolving them from mere observers to active participants on the battlefield. Now the fight could be taken beyond the limits of the trench lines and into the skies. Air assault takes place solely amongst the savage fights of the sky. The rules are simple. The first team to reach the target score wins. Some vehicles are worth more points than others, so concentrate your fire on the more valuable targets. At certain moments, a behemoth may rear its head in combat. Take that down, and you've just won glory for your team. Best of luck out there, pilots. Drawing on all aspects of the Great War, Conquest provides scale and all the machines, weapons, and beasts you need to defeat the enemy and conquer the land. In Conquest, you must capture and hold a series of objectives. With captured objectives, points are awarded to the side that holds them. The more soldiers occupying an objective, the faster it will be secured. However, if any enemy soldiers are in the objective area, it will slow down the capture process. Objectives can provide horses and vehicles to the side that controls them. You can enter the battle on captured objectives or your squad's position. Elite-class pickups provide added firepower and can be found throughout the map. If a side is close to losing the battle, to even the odds, a behemoth will arrive to reinforce them. Inflicting casualties will give you an advantage, but conquering the land will win you the war. Remember, the first side that reaches the target score or is closest to it when time runs out wins the round. The Great War was dominated by battles rooted in capturing and holding vast areas of territory. Although most battles consisted of thousands of men attacking enemy lines, some involved smaller infantry-focused missions geared towards capturing strategic locations needed to launch these massive attacks. In domination, you must capture and hold a majority of the objectives. With each captured objective, points are awarded. The greater number of friendly soldiers occupying an objective, the faster the location will be secured. However, enemy soldiers present in the objective area will slow down the capture process. Take into account that each time you die and re-enter the fight, you will start in a randomly located, neutral but safe area. At regular intervals, a powerful elite-class weapon is dropped somewhere on the map. Grab it to get the upper hand in terms of firepower. Remember, the first side that reaches the target score or is closest to it when time runs out wins the round. After the initial mobile war on the Western Front, holding on to captured ground proved to be a challenging task. Frontlines combines conquest and rush in a symmetrical head-on engagement, where the contested frontline can move in both directions. During the first phase, each side fight over a chain of objectives. only one of the objectives is active at once. Conquering an objective allows that faction to advance closer to the enemy base. Once a faction loses the flag objective closest to their base, they will have to defend the 2 telegraph posts inside the base. Artillery called in from the telegraphs can be used against the attackers. The phase ends when both telegraph posts have been destroyed or when the attackers have run out of reinforcements. A failed telegraph attack will revert to the initial flag objectives phase, where the factions continue fighting for access to their bases. The game ends when one faction has destroyed both enemy telegraph posts or when the time runs out. In supply drop, both forces fight over supplies. The use of aircraft to deliver much-needed military supplies was a new tactic in World War I. The supplies are dropped by aircraft, periodically flying over the battlefield. To recover the dropped supplies, your team must travel to and control their landing location. The more soldiers that control a given location, the more quickly its supplies are recovered. Powerful elite-class weapons will periodically be uncovered among the supplies. Use them to gain the upper hand against your opponents. The team with the most supplies at the end of the round will be victorious. In supply drop, both forces fight over supplies. The use of aircraft to deliver much-needed military supplies was a new tactic in World War I. In many ways, World War I changed the notion of how war was to be fought. Near the end of it was not as much about capturing territory as it was to force the enemy to surrender by inflicting as many casualties as possible. Team Deathmatch mirrors the simple brutality of war. Infantry-based units combating each other to the death, kill or be killed. The game pits your side against the enemy. Defeat as many opponents as you can and make sure to protect yourself and your fellow soldiers. At regular intervals, a powerful elite-class weapon is dropped somewhere on the map. Grab it to get the upper hand in terms of firepower. The side that inflicts the most casualties wins. But if the timer runs out, the side that has killed the most enemies wins. In the Great War, man-made communication systems were still crude and unreliable. Therefore, dogs and pigeons were used extensively to send messages. 2 sides compete to use messenger pigeons to call for artillery barrages on enemy positions. When the game starts, the first pigeon coop will be located somewhere on the map. Find the pigeon before the enemy, carry it to a safe location, write the message, then release the pigeon. To release the pigeon, you must be out in the open. Once a message is sent, artillery will rain down on the enemy. If the soldier carrying the pigeon is killed, the pigeon can then be picked up by anyone. If a pigeon is released by the enemy, you can shoot it down to avoid being shelled. The side that calls in the required number of artillery strikes wins. But if the timer runs out, the side that has directed the most artillery strikes wins.